We are in Baltimore, Maryland, and we're going to show you the fun things you can do here. We are at the World Trade Center, Baltimore, and we're going to the top of the world. The World Trade Center, Baltimore is the tallest pentagonal, five-sided building in the world.
This observation deck offers 360-degree views of Baltimore from 27 floors above the harbor.
Welcome to the top of the world.
The observation deck also has a memorial that honors the 68 Marylanders lost during the 9/11 attacks. The window has names of all the victims of the attacks, and the ones that are not indented, the ones that stick out, are the Marylanders. There you can see where the Francis Scott Key Bridge once stood. It collapsed a year ago when a ship hit it, and I remember seeing that on the news. There's Oriole Park. I think this is my favorite part, is you can see the shadow of the building. It goes all the way, how many blocks is that? 1, 2, 3 blocks. And then over there is the Bromo Tower, which is that clock tower, and we'll be going there next. And that is the top of the world.
I really enjoyed that you got the view from all 5 sides, and it was a pretty good observation deck. It was very clear, and it's a very good day to be up there.
My favorite view was both seeing the shadow in the morning, the shadow of the building, and also the huge port. And I also liked how they included that 9/11 memorial on one side. Our next stop is the Bromo Seltzer Arts Tower.
This iconic tower features the largest 4-dial clock in the US and now houses artists and studios.
These are the old clock cans, and they're redwood from California, but the new ones are fiberglass. Everything that's green here is what powers the clock. So this is a gravity-driven clock, and there's a pendulum, and it's basically how clocks have always worked, so there's no need for electricity or anything like that. And this clock tower was built in 1911. It was next to a Bromo Seltzer factory, and at that time, this was the tallest thing in town, so everyone had to look up at it, and it was very good marketing. Isaac Emerson not only owned the Bromo Seltzer itself, but also the glass company that it was put in.
Instead of numbers, the clock tower used the words Bromo Seltzer for all 12 of the hours. And then they also had this Bromo Seltzer bottle at the top, and it was rotating, and it was able to light up. It's not there anymore, and it got probably destroyed because it damaged this part of the clock tower.
We're now spiraling down the tower, and along the way we see artwork, and we're next to a lot of artist studios.
Here's a directory of all the artists and all the people who work here.
And that is the Bromo Seltzer Tower.
I really enjoyed looking at all the mechanisms that it takes for the clock to work, and I also enjoyed the history behind the clock itself.
I think that's the first time we got to go inside one of those rooms in the clock tower where the clock actually is. So that was a very unique experience. If you want to come visit, just make sure it's on a Saturday, because this is Saturdays only. Our next stop is the B&O Railroad Museum.
This is the birthplace of the first U.S. railroad.
First, we're looking at a train model of Baltimore in 1997.
part about the Underground Railroad.
So these are what the words are supposed to mean, but then if you slide it, it gives the Underground Railroad definition. This shows if you would have been able to buy a ticket in 1851. So if you're white, oh yeah, you can buy a ticket. But if you're black, then there's a lot of follow-up questions before you can actually get a ticket. We're heading inside the Jim Crow segregated car. This is the black section in the back, and up there's the white section. They purposely put the smoking section here so that riders would spit chewing tobacco at the feet of black travelers. You're a feet counter in the fire.
Yeah.
This is where you can board to ride the trains on select days.
This is the kitchen dining car. That's why they have chinas everywhere.
And that is the Baltimore, Ohio Railroad Museum.
I liked learning about the Underground Railroad and what it took to get a ticket and all the new words that they had to learn and communicate with.
And I liked going in all the train cars and also seeing what they looked like back then, especially with the segregated section. Our next stop is the National Aquarium.
This place immerses you in ocean wonders, from coral reefs to rainforest canopies.
We're in the Blue Wonders section of the aquarium, and so on the first floor, there's this giant coral reef, and then we're gonna take escalators and go all the way up and then spiral back down, I think through the tropical rainforest.
Oh, I touched it. Oh, that feels so weird. That feels like a crab, but it's soft. Whoa, that scared me. It touched me. Now we're in the tropical rainforest section. What was really cool about this exhibit is I think for the first time ever we were able to see a sloth hanging from a tree, and they were very real. One was even eating from a bowl of fruit. Now we're gonna check out Jelly's Invasion. We're in the Australia exhibit. Has a pig nose, so does a turtle, so he was interested in it.
And that was the National Aquarium.
It was a really good aquarium. My favorite exhibit was the pig-nosed turtles. Those were so cute. There's a lot of, I like the layout of the aquarium, and it's definitely a very unique one.
My favorite part of the aquarium was the jellyfish exhibit, and I also thought that the tropical rainforest was unique because there were sloths and those rainbow parrots. Overall, I was impressed by the aquarium. Our next stop is the Reginald F. Lewis Museum.
This museum celebrates African Americans in Maryland and beyond.
We're starting off on the top on the 3rd floor, which is their permanent exhibition. So to African Americans, oysters brought them a sense of freedom because it wasn't farming or any of those things that they traditionally did. They were able to make their own boats and just go out in the water. This is the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project, and there's 38 lynchings documented here with soil collected from the site where they were lynched. The 2nd floor is on the life of Reginald F. Lewis, the first African American to lead a billion-dollar company. Reginald F. Lewis began his career as a lawyer, and then he became a businessman, and he owns 64 companies in 31 countries. This is an original chair from Wall Street that he used, and he passed away in the 90s when he was 50 years old from brain cancer. So when his family was making this museum, they wanted this chair to be here so that guests could come and sit where he sat. And that is the Reginald F. Lewis Museum.
I really enjoyed learning about Reginald Lewis, and I'm glad that they were able to keep his chair and put it into this museum for us to look at and even sit on.
I thought that the 3rd floor was pretty informative. It was about the African American history of Maryland and all those lynchings. That was just a very unique and important exhibit to go to. Now we're at Fort McHenry National Monument and Historic Shrine.
This is the birthplace of the Star-Spangled Banner.
Fort McHenry is named after James McHenry, who served as the Secretary of War under George Washington and John Adams. And this fort is particularly known for the War of 1812, when there was a battle at Baltimore Harbor and they helped defend the U.S. from the British.
Whoa.
That bridge over there is Interstate 695, and I saw that on the news a few months ago when it collapsed. I think this is the jail.
Oh, that's scary.
Oh no, you're trapped!
I'm never doing that again.
Francis Scott Key's original draft of the song was originally called The Defense of Fort McHenry, and then it was later called the Star-Spangled Banner. And that is the Fort McHenry National Monument and Shrine.
I really enjoyed all the different walking paths you can get. The Fort was nice, but I really liked the scenic overlook that you got at the top of the fort.
I liked the historical significance of this place, especially since I learned about it in APUSH class. So I learned about how Francis Scott Key saw the battle and then he was inspired to write the Star-Spangled Banner. So all that history was cool to be at the spot where it happened. Now we are at the Babe Ruth Birthplace and Museum.
This museum honors the legacy of baseball's greatest, right where the Babe story began.
Babe Ruth was a troubled kid, so his parents sent him to an industrial school where he learned to make shirts, and then eventually he found that baseball was his passion. That's when he was able to finally kind of get his freedom and become successful. These are jerseys of all the teams that Babe Ruth played for. He even played for the Brooklyn Dodgers. That's from 1938. It's before the Dodgers moved to LA. These are the seats that they would sit in at Yankee Stadium, and it's nicknamed 9-inning agony. Here's the bat that Babe Ruth used in the 1927 season when he hit 60 home runs, and this is a home run ball. Babe Ruth hit 714 home runs, and these plaques commemorate all of them. And that is the Babe Ruth Birthplace and Museum.
I really enjoyed looking at all the artifacts that they were able to collect that Babe Ruth once owned or touched his hands on. It was a really good museum, and I'm actually very intrigued by the history behind Babe Ruth.
I really enjoyed the guided tour because our tour guide, even though he said he was 75, he was very lively, and I learned so much from him about Babe Ruth. Some of my favorite facts were that Babe Ruth was one of the few people who made money during the Great Depression, and so because of that he was very generous. So he went to like orphanages and bought shoes for children and stuff like that. He's also kind of like Shohei Ohtani right now because he started as a pitcher and then they decided to make him a batter, and it's kind of like how Shohei Ohtani right now, they can't decide if they want him to pitch or bat because he's good at both. Our final stop is Edgar Allan Poe's gravesite.
This quiet graveyard holds the final resting place of America's master of macabre, Edgar Allan Poe. This is Edgar Allan Poe's gravesite, and he died at the age of 40. He decided to get himself buried here. Well, his family actually did, because this is where he launched his literary career, and he felt very attached to Baltimore itself, even though he was actually born in Boston. This is the original gravesite of Edgar Allan Poe before it was moved to the front monument. So this is like the real one. See you in the next video. Bye!